All right, everybody, the news is all over. Tai Lopez was just charged by the SEC for allegedly running a $112 million Ponzi scheme. Yeah, this is the same guy who made millions telling people about his books and his Lamborghinis. And here's what should terrify you about it. 660 investors, many of them everyday people who trusted him, got caught in his mess. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what happened in this case, show you the specific tactics that these alleged scammers used, and give you a framework to protect yourself from investment fraud in 2025. Because trust me, this isn't just about Tai Lopez. This is a playbook I'm seeing everywhere. Hey everybody, I'm Santiago Cueto, board-certified international business law expert and best-selling author. And for nearly 30 years, I've seen countless cases just like this destroy people's financial futures. All right, so here's a little background on the Tai Lopez lawsuit. Recently, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed a civil complaint in Florida federal court that should be a wake-up call for every single person watching this video. They charged Tai Lopez, his business partner, Alex Mayer, and their COO, Maya Birkenrode, with orchestrating what prosecutors are calling a Ponzi-like scheme that defrauded investors of a staggering $112 million. So here's how they allegedly did it, according to the SEC's complaint. Between 2020 and 2022, during the chaos of the COVID pandemic, these three went on a shopping spree, buying up bankrupt brands. We're talking Radio Shack, Pier 1 Imports, Dress Barn, names you probably recognize. They told investors that these brands were crushing it in e-commerce, generating huge profits. They raised money through unregistered securities, which is already illegal, and according to the SEC, almost everything they said was a lie. These companies weren't profitable, they were actually hemorrhaging money. But Lopez and his partners allegedly paid out $5.9 million in returns to early investors using money from new investors. Classic Ponzi structure, right? And where did the rest go? $60 million allegedly went to private jets, yachts, and luxury real estate. Now let's be clear, everyone. These are allegations. Everyone deserves their day in court. But the pattern here, the tactics, the red flags, these are things you need to understand because they show up in investment scams over and over again. All right, everyone. Let's start with the most dangerous weapon in a modern scammer's arsenal: influence. Tai Lopez built his brand on social media. The YouTube ads, the Instagram posts, the famous "Here in my garage" video, and his Lamborghini and his bookshelf. He positioned himself as someone who had cracked the code to wealth, and millions of people bought into that image. And that's exactly how these scams work. They don't start with cold calls from some sketchy broker. They start with someone you've been following for months or even years, someone who has built up trust and credibility, or at least the appearance of it. When that person presents an investment opportunity, your guard is already down. You feel like you know them. But here's what you need to understand. Social media following does not equal investment expertise, and it definitely doesn't equal honesty. Someone can have millions of followers, appear on podcasts, get featured in media, and still be running a complete fraud. In fact, that influence makes it easier to defraud people because victims don't do the same due diligence that they would with a stranger. Now, the first rule of avoiding investment scams is this: separate the person from the opportunity. I don't care if it's someone you admire, someone famous, or even someone you know personally. No, every single investment opportunity needs to be evaluated on its own merits with the same skepticism and scrutiny. Influence is not evidence. Let me say it again. Influence is not evidence. Now let's talk about the specific scheme in the Lopez case, because the playbook here is actually brilliant in the worst possible way. They bought bankrupt brands during COVID. Now think about the psychology of that for a second. Radio Shack, Pier 1, Dress Barn. These are names that trigger nostalgia. People have emotional connections to these brands. And buying them during a pandemic when everything was uncertain, that sounds bold, visionary even. Then they pivoted to the e-commerce narrative. Everything was going online during COVID. Traditional retail was dying. E-commerce was exploding. We all saw it. So when Lopez and his partners allegedly told investors these zombie brands, let's call them, were being revived as e-commerce powerhouses, it fit perfectly with what everyone was seeing in the world. Amazon was crushing it. Shopify was booming. Online shopping was the future. The story It just made sense. Except, according to the SEC, it was fiction. The companies were losing massive amounts of money, but investors were being shown a completely different picture. They were allegedly told these ventures were highly profitable, when the opposite was actually true. This is a critical lesson. Scammers don't pitch random nonsense. They build narratives around legitimate trends. Crypto boom? Suddenly there are 1,000 crypto scams. AI revolution? Now there are AI investment frauds. Pandemic e-commerce surge? That's your cover story for a Ponzi scheme. The scam hides inside something that sounds plausible, even exciting. So when you're evaluating an investment, ask yourself, is this opportunity riding on a trendy narrative? If so, that's not automatically a red flag, but it means you need to verify everything with hard evidence, not just a compelling story. Now here's something that most people don't understand. The SEC complaint specifically mentions that Lopez and his partners raised funds through unregistered securities. Let me explain why this matters so much. When a company wants to raise money from investors in the United States, they generally need to register those securities with the SEC. Now, this registration process requires detailed financial disclosures, audits, risk factors, all the information an investor needs to make an informed decision. It's not perfect, but it's a layer of protection. There are exemptions that allow some private placements without registration, but even those have rules. Now, according to the SEC, what Lopez and his team did didn't comply with securities laws at all. They were allegedly raising money illegally from the start. Why would someone skip registration? Well, because if you register, you have to tell the truth. You have to disclose your financials, your business model, the risks, everything. Now, if your business is actually losing money and you're planning to use new investor funds to pay old investors, you can't register that. So instead, you operate in the shadows. Now, this is your second major protection. Verify that any investment opportunity is properly registered or qualifies for a legitimate exemption. You can check this yourself on the SEC's website. If someone is asking you for tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, and they can't show you proper registration or a clear exemption, that should end the conversation immediately. Walk away. Now, understanding securities registration is the kind of practical legal knowledge that protects your wealth. Now, if you're finding this breakdown valuable and you want to stay ahead of scams like this, do me a favor and hit that like button, then subscribe to the channel. I break down complex financial and legal issues just like this every week to keep you informed and to keep you protected. All right, let's get back. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of what actually happened here, because understanding how Ponzi schemes work is essential to spotting them. Now, the SEC claims that Lopez and his partners paid out $5.9 million in returns to investors using new investor money. This is textbook Ponzi. There's no real profits generating those returns, no legitimate business success. You're just shuffling money from new victims to earlier victims to create the illusion that the investment is working. And here's why this is so insidious. Those earlier investors who got paid, they become your best salespeople. They tell their friends, I invested with Tai Lopez and I'm already seeing returns. They have no idea that they're being used as bait. The success story brings in a new wave of victims. Eventually, every Ponzi scheme collapses because the math doesn't work. You need exponentially more new investors to keep paying the old ones, and that's impossible to sustain. We've seen it time and time again. They always collapse. But before it collapses, the people running it often extract enormous amounts of money for themselves. Now, the SEC alleges that $16 million went to private luxuries. Think private jets, yachts, and real estate. While investors thought their money was going into reviving Radio Shack, it was allegedly funding someone else's lifestyle. Now, here's how to protect yourself. Demand proof of profits, not testimonials from other investors, not pictures of success on social media, actual audited financial statements. If an investment is generating real returns, there should be real financial documentation. And if someone tells you the opportunity is too exclusive or too fast moving for that kind of documentation, that's not a feature. That's a deal breaker right there. Now, let me give you a practical checklist based on this case and dozens of others like it. These are the warning signs that should make you walk away immediately. Red flag number 1, guaranteed or exponentially high returns with low risk. If someone is promising you 15, 20, 30% returns with little to no risk, they're lying. High returns come with high risk, always. If the math sounds too good, It probably is. Red flag number 2, pressure to invest quickly. We've all seen this. Scammers create urgency. This opportunity won't last. We're closing this round soon. If you don't get in now, you'll miss out. Legitimate investments can wait for you to do your homework. Red flag number 3, complex or vague explanations. If you can't understand how the investment actually makes money, or if the explanation keeps shifting, that's a problem. Bernie Madoff's investors often admitted they didn't really understand his strategy. That should have been the first warning sign. And red flag number 4, unlicensed sellers or unregistered investments. Check credentials, verify registration. This takes 10 minutes online and can save you everything. Red flag number 5, social proof replacing due diligence. I told you earlier, influence is not evidence. Just because other people invested doesn't mean it's legitimate. Just because someone is famous doesn't mean they're honest. Do your own independent verification. And here's the ultimate red flag: difficulty getting your money out. If there are restrictions on withdrawals, long waiting periods, or excuses about why you can't access your funds, you might already be in a scam. Look, investment scams in 2025 are more sophisticated than ever. They're wrapped in social media influence, trendy narratives, and emotional manipulation. The Tai Lopez case is just one example, but the tactics are everywhere. Protect yourself by staying skeptical, doing real due diligence, and never letting influence or FOMO override your judgment. Verify everything, demand documentation, and if something feels off, trust that instinct. Your financial security is too important to risk on someone else's story, no matter how compelling it may sound. Now, if this video helped you understand how to spot these schemes before they spot you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss critical legal and financial insights that protect your wealth. Stay smart out there, and I'll see you in the next one.